very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor and here are this morning's headlines. Opposition parties seek independent investigation after Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi's direct allegation against Prime Minister Modi of corruption. BJP rejects claims, says Rahul is diverting attention. Parliamentary panel to seek details on demonetization from top finance ministry officials today. They were slated to be given a briefing on the matter by RBI Governor Urjit Patel. Europe-wide manhunt for Tunisian man who is the suspect behind the Berlin truck attack. German authorities had considered him a threat months before the attack. Russia says nearly all communication channels with the United States are frozen. Annexation of Crimea, Ukraine conflict and disagreements of Syria conflict cited as reasons. US rejects claims. Our top story this morning, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi levelled corruption allegations against Prime Minister Narendra Modi at a rally in Gujarat on Wednesday. Now, claiming that Prime Minister was paid kickbacks during his stint as the Gujarat Chief Minister, Rahul Gandhi demanded an independent probe into the matter. The BJP, however, refuted all the charges made by Rahul Gandhi, saying it is just a desperate attempt by the Congress Vice President to divert attention from his own corruption.
Addressing a rally in the BJP bastion Gujarat, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi levelled corruption charges against Prime Minister Narendra Modi. At a public rally in Mehsana, Rahul Gandhi claimed corporate houses Aditya Birla Group and Sahara Group paid crores to Modi in a period of 6 months from October 2013 to February 2014 when he was Chief Minister of Gujarat. Rahul also demanded an independent investigation.
6 महीने में 9 बार सहारा के लोगों ने अपनी डायरी में लिखा है कि हमने नरेंद्र मोदी जी को पैसा दिया है। ऐसा ही एक कंप्यूटर रिकॉर्ड बिरला कंपनी का, उसमें साफ लिखा हुआ है गुजरात सीएम 25 करोड़ 12 करोड़ हो गए, बाकी क्वेश्चन मार्क।
The BJP, however, rubbished Gandhi's allegations, calling him a non-serious political leader, adding that the Prime Minister was as pure as the river Ganga. BJP said the allegations reflected the Congress leader's frustration and were an attempt to divert attention from the Augusta Westland probe.
The exemplary record of corruption of Congress party establishes a new benchmark in loot of public money in the annals of governance in the world. They did not spare the sky, they did not spare the space, they did not spare the land, they did not spare under the land.
Meanwhile, opposition parties also demanded a thorough probe into Rahul Gandhi's allegations. Sitaram Yechuri said that Sahara diaries and the allegations against Modi are very serious and must be investigated.
My small and big subject is there are serious questions being raised on the credibility of the Prime Minister, not based on hearsay, not based on political mudslinging, but based on 2 pieces of documents that are in custody of Income Tax Department and Central Bureau of Investigation for 30 months now. Modi ji is sitting over it. Has CBI even asked one question from Modi ji even once?
This is the Trinamool Congress MPs, all of us with the red diaries, the red Sahara diaries, standing outside the main entrance of Parliament, and we raised this issue outside Parliament on December 2nd, 2014 to flag this issue about corruption and payments being made to Modi Babu and others in the BJP.
नरेंद्र मोदी जी पहले प्रधानमंत्री हैं आजादी के बाद से जिनका नाम सीधे सीधे बाय नेम उनका नाम किसी के खातों में है कि उन्होंने रिश्वत ली। कच्चे खातों में किसी भी प्रधानमंत्री का सीधे सीधे नाम आज तक आजादी के बाद से आज तक कभी नहीं आया था। ये बहुत बड़ा संगीन मामला है।
Rahul Gandhi also attacked the centre over demonetization, calling it anti-poor. Last week, he claimed that he had evidence of personal corruption of the Prime Minister, but he was being prevented from speaking in the Lok Sabha because it would cause an earthquake. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
On to the other top story now. A parliamentary committee headed by Veerappa Moily will seek first details on the issue of demonetization from top finance ministry officials today before calling RBI Governor Urjit Patel for a briefing. Now, Patel was earlier scheduled to come for the briefing today, but now finance ministry officials will brief the Standing Committee on Finance first. Finance Secretary Ashok Lavasa and other senior officials will brief the panel on demonetization of Indian currency notes of 500 and 1,000 rupees and the impact thereof. No other experts too are likely to give their opinion on demonetization, which came into effect from 9th of November. Well, following the decision to scrap old high denomination notes, people are thronging banks to deposit invalid currency and also get valid ones to meet their requirements. Now, RBI has put a withdrawal limit of 24,000 rupees per week for individuals, but due to the shortage of currency, many bank branches are compelled to ration it further. Now, there has been a slew of changes in the rules and regulations both by the RBI as well as the government in these last 6 weeks. Well, RBI, that is the Reserve Bank of India, has issued a fresh notification on Wednesday withdrawing the restriction on 5,000 rupees deposits for KYC compliant account holders. Now, fully KYC compliant account holders can deposit over 5,000 rupees without any interrogation by two bank officials. Remember, there have been nearly 60 notification changes by the RBI and Finance Ministry since the demonetization policy was announced.
A breather for depositors waiting for the queues at the banks to shorten. In a sharp rollback, the Reserve Bank of India has withdrawn its restrictions on bank deposits exceeding 5,000 rupees in old notes. Barely 48 hours ago, it had issued a circular to banks that deposits of 5,000 rupees and above will come under scrutiny.
You have taken a U-turn as if you are experimenting a trial and error method. Because when KYC is already there is no question of further query because it's already answerable to it.
The fresh RBI notification had been widely criticized. While the objectives of the demonetization to battle corruption and black money has been widely welcomed, the flood of directives to banks has piled on the problems for the common man.
जनता के पास इतना टाइम नहीं है कि वो रोज नियम को अपडेट करके उसके हिसाब से प्लानिंग करके चले। आप डेली नियम बदलते हैं, डेली जनता के पास नया नियम पहुंचता है, लेकिन अगर उस नियम के अकॉर्डिंग भी जाते हैं तो जो बैंक वाले हैं उनके पास वो नियम का कोई भी सर्कुलर आता नहीं है, वो भी कंफ्यूजन में है।
Meanwhile, the political slugfest over the demonetization decision is far from over. The opposition continued its tirade against the government, while the ruling dispensation claimed demonetization is a game changer.
It's faster than Mohammed bin Tughlaq. He took some time. There was some weeks gap. Here's a situation where you have it done all in 48 hours.
All these notification, re-notification, measures taken by the government of India, it's only in the interest of the nation, in the interest of the people, in the interest of a common citizen. Number is not important. It is the efficiency, it is the convenience of people that is more important for us.
The government pulled out 500 and 1,000 rupee bills on November 8th and has since announced near-daily changes to banking rules to manage the transition. The move has led to a severe cash crunch. Cash withdrawals from banks have been restricted to 24,000 rupees per account per week, although most banks are unable to provide even that. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, in a move to promote cashless transactions, the Narendra Modi government has decided to bring in an ordinance. Now, this will effectively amend the Payment of Wages Act to allow business and industrial establishments to pay salaries through checks or electronically. The report said that the employers will also have the option to pay cash wages. Well, as per practice, the government introduces ordinances to amend laws where new rules need immediate implementation. Meanwhile, in other decisions, the centre also approved the creation of the Indian Enterprise Development Services in the Office of Development Commissioner, Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. Well, this service was created by absorbing 11 trades for which recruitments were done differently through different rules. Well, the Cabinet also approved repromulgating the ordinance to amend the Enemy Property Act, a nearly 50-year-old law to guard against claims of succession or transfer of properties left by people who migrated to Pakistan and China after wars. On to some other news now. Well, the GST Council will begin its two-day meeting today to consider the model GST laws and iron out differences on the vexed issue of jurisdiction over assessors in the new indirect tax regime. Now, this will be the 7th meeting of the Council, which is headed by Union Finance Minister Arun Jaitley and has also got state ministers as its members. With as many as 20 chapters of the model GST law cleared in its last meeting earlier this month, the Council will discuss the remaining 7 chapters. Well, the Council will take up the dual control issue on Friday. As the consensus eluded the Council meeting, the subsequent GST regulations, that is the CGST, IGST and the compensation law, could not be introduced in winter session of Parliament that ended last week. Now, this has threatened the April 2017 rollout target of the GST. News from Tamil Nadu now. Well, the Income Tax Department's raids at the house of Tamil Nadu's top bureaucrat, Chief Secretary Ram Mohan Rao, has fanned a political controversy. Well, the Income Tax Department conducted raids at the home of the senior bureaucrat as well as 13 other places belonging to him, his son, as well as his relatives in Chennai, Bangalore and Chittor. Well, raids were conducted in Chennai on Wednesday at his home and also at the state secretariat. Well, the opposition in Tamil Nadu called the raids as unprecedented, calling for a strict action against the ruling AIADMK and its ministers who may be involved in corruption. Now, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee also criticized the IT raid on the Tamil Nadu Chief Secretary, saying it was a vindictive and unethical act by central agencies. Banerjee said that even though corruption needs to be strongly condemned, the raid by central agencies devalues the institution of head of the civil service. However, the criticism has been sidelined by the BJP. The party has said that the raids prove the agency was working without any discrimination and has carried out a usual procedure.
The IT raids in the Chief Secretary's house are unbiased activity of the IT department, and the Income Tax Department won't spontaneously. They won't go for any search. They would have done homework and they would have had some evidence for such activities. And it is really an unbiased activity of the Income Tax Department, and it is wrong to politicize such activities.
This is a BJP government which talks about cooperative federalism. There is a system. The state government of Tamil Nadu should have been informed, proper procedure should have been followed. You don't just jump into a state and then you do whatever you want. So this is very, very bad. Only words from BJP where they talk about federalism, but in action, whether it was in Tamil Nadu or whether it was in Delhi with Kejriwal's government, they have the same problem.
We have been pointing out for the last couple of years that there is strong, rampant corruption in this ADMK regime. But the central government never took cognizance of that. We gave a lot of complaints. We gave complaints about specific instances of corruption in this ADMK regime. We intimated the central authorities, but they never bothered to do anything. At least they are woken up now and they're taking some action.
Now, an update on the situation in Manipur. Well, a delegation-level team of Manipur BJP will meet Home Minister Rajnath Singh today at his residence as tension continues to prevail in the state over economic blockade imposed by the United Naga Council. Now, on Wednesday, 3 persons were arrested for allegedly throwing stones and damaging at least 3 buses in the Imphal East district after curfew was relaxed. However, curfew remains in force in West Imphal district. Now, internet services also remain snapped for the 5th day today to avoid spread of rumours and false propaganda. Meanwhile, the state BJP has also urged the centre to resolve all NSCNIM designated camps from the state. The United Naga Council has blocked the 2 national highways since the 1st of November, which has choked supply of essential commodities to Imphal. The situation has forced people living in the plains to impose a counter-economic blockade, blocking a movement of goods from Imphal to Naga-inhabited areas in the hills.
We have started this counter-economic blockade, and I would say that we are not against anybody, let it be Nagas, Cookies or anybody. We are just, it's a form of protest. It's a form of protest against the government, that why they are letting us suffer for the past 50 days.
Okay. So when you will end your this movement?
We are ending up as soon as the economic blockage is lifted up.
Now look at what else is making news across the nation in Nationwide. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister O. Paneerselvam has urged the centre to act decisively to bring back 51 fishermen languishing in Sri Lanka after being apprehended by the Lankan Navy. Now, in a letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the letter has cited the latest instances of Lankan Navy arresting 29 fishermen from Ramanathampuram and Padukottai districts and said that these come just a day after the arrest of 7 of their counterparts from Padukottai. He said there has been an alarming increase in the frequency of apprehensions. Delhi police will be conducting a polygraph test today on missing JNU student Najib Ahmed's roommate. Well, the polygraph test was scheduled for Wednesday. Many of the students who are connected to the probe are out of Delhi because of vacations, and they have also been asked to give their consent for the test. Industrialist Nusli Wadia stayed away from Tata Steel's extraordinary general meeting on Wednesday. It was called for voting by shareholders on promoters' proposals seeking his removal as independent director. Wadia termed the meet as inappropriately and shamefully staged managed. Last week, Wadia filed a 3,000 crore rupees defamation suit against Ratan Tata, Tata Sons and some of its directors. And in Breakfast News, we'll take a very short break. Up next, we have all the international and sports news. Stay with us.
Maternity benefit law. People have said that it caters only to the women in the formal sector.
We are talking about women in formal employment. How do you cater to somebody who's not employed?
Can the political class really prohibit themselves from treating women as a vote bank?
And nobody can treat anybody as a vote bank unless you want to be treated as a vote bank.
Do you also feel suffocated at times in politics? Probably that you're not able to do what you think?
Because I do exactly what I want to do.
And you're allowed to do that?
No, nobody has to allow me.
Watch To The Point with Women and Child Development Minister Maneka Gandhi, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back after the break. Let's get you some international news now. Well, a Europe-wide manhunt has been launched for the Tunisian suspect of the Berlin truck attack. Well, the man, German authorities say, had been under surveillance for 6 months this year. Here are the details.
A Europe-wide manhunt for this man, 24-year-old Tunisian Anis Amri, wanted now for the Berlin Christmas market attack. German authorities had considered him a possible terror threat months before the attack. He was put under covert surveillance for 6 months this year. They also tried to deport him after his asylum application was rejected. He is being described as violent and armed. A reward of 1 lakh euros has been announced for information leading to his arrest. The arrest warrant was issued after his residence permit was found in the cab of the lorry he drove.
Hat sich seit Februar 2016 seinen Lebensmittelpunkt in Berlin gesucht. Nach heutigem Kenntnisstand war zuletzt kurz in Nordrhein-Westfalen. Die Sicherheitsbehörden haben ihre Erkenntnis und ihre Informationen zu dieser Person im gemeinsamen Terrorabwehrzentrum ausgetauscht, zuletzt im November 2016.
Anis was reportedly monitored on suspicion of planning a robbery in order to pay for guns, but surveillance was lifted for lack of evidence. Before entering Germany, he served 4 years for arson in Italy and faced a jail sentence in absentia in Tunisia. He also used at least 6 different names and 3 different nationalities. 12 people were killed and 48 injured when the truck he drove plowed into a popular Berlin market on Monday evening in an attack claimed by the Islamic State group. 12 of the wounded were being still treated for very serious injuries, and some were in critical condition. Berliners visited the scene of the attack after police finished their investigations there and removed barricades. German Chancellor Angela Merkel met her security cabinet to discuss the investigation into the attack. In another development, the German cabinet approved plans agreed last month to allow more video surveillance of public places. International condemnation of the attack continued, US President-elect Donald Trump calling it an attack on humanity.
It's an attack on humanity. That's what it is. It's an attack on humanity. And it's got to be stopped. Thank you.
The Islamic State group claimed the attack, saying it was in response to calls to target nationals of the coalition countries. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
News from the Middle East now. In the final phase of the evacuation of rebel-held eastern districts of the Syrian city of Aleppo has restarted despite heavy snowfall after being stalled for a day. Well, around 25,000 people have been bussed out of the Aleppo since last week as part of a deal overseen by the Red Cross and brokered by the Syrian government backers, Russia and rebel supporters, Turkey. Now, under the deal, all civilians and opposition fighters should be out of the area within 2 days. People were waiting in freezing temperatures since the evacuation hit problems on Tuesday, with the dozens of buses stuck in Aleppo and the evacuation of 2 Shiite villages. Now, rebel and government forces blamed each other for the hold-up. The eventual departure of thousands from the rebel control zone will hand full control of the city to President Bashar al-Assad, the biggest prize of Syria's nearly 6-year-old civil war. And more news from Syria. At least 14 Turkish soldiers and 138 militants were killed during clashes between Turkish-backed Syrian rebels and Islamic State militants in the northern Syrian town of Al-Bab on Wednesday. Well, the fighting, in which 33 Turkish soldiers were also wounded, is one of the deadliest yet in Turkey's nearly 4-month-old Euphrates Shield operation in northern Syria. The Islamic State-held town of Al-Bab has become the main target of the army's more than 3-month campaign inside Syria in support of pro-Ankara Syrian rebels. Nearly 30 Turkish soldiers have been killed in the course of the operation, which was launched to push Islamic State and a Kurdish militia away from the Syrian border with Turkey. Turkish military had said that some of the intense fighting on Wednesday had been centered on a hospital area on the slope of a hill overlooking Al-Bab that had long been used by Islamic State as a weapon and ammunition store. On to some other news now. Well, Russia has said that almost all communication channels between Moscow and Washington have been frozen. Now, there are fears among allies that Donald Trump's administration could withdraw funding for NATO at a time of heightened tensions with Moscow. Russia has said it would take countermeasures in response to any expansion of the 28-member military alliance. A U.S. State Department spokesperson, John Kirby, however, rejected the statement. Kirby said that the diplomatic engagement with Russia continues across a wide range of issues. Russia also cited annexation of Crimea, the conflict in Ukraine, as well as disagreements about the conflict in Syria as reasons. The White House this month also pointed to direct involvement by Russian President Vladimir Putin in cyber attacks designed to impact the United States elections. The Obama administration also reaffirmed its commitment to maintaining sanctions on Moscow over Crimea, with new financial restrictions on Russian businessmen and companies.
Это абсолютный неконструктивизм, то есть это идеальный неконструктивизм. Известно, что зачастую в Соединенных Штатах Америки ничем не гнушаются в ходе предвыборных кампаний. Ну и в первую очередь не гнушаются, конечно, русофобией.
And the death toll in the massive explosion at Mexico's best-known fireworks market climbed to 32 on Wednesday as authorities work to identify the dead and treat the dozens injured in the incident. Now, 26 victims were found dead at the scene, while 6 died at area hospitals. Now, DNA tests are being carried out to identify the blackened remains of the 18 victims who have not yet been identified. Well, the cause of the blasts remain unknown, with forensic investigators scoring the charred remains of the market to find a clue. Remember, an explosion ripped through a fireworks market in the northern outskirts of Mexico City on Wednesday, destroying more than 80% of the 300 stalls at the market, besides human life. Now, there were 300 tons of fireworks on the site at the time of explosion.
Las 4.5 hectáreas donde sucedió este incidente, preveemos que ya no hay ahí ningún cuerpo. Desde el momento en que sucedió el incidente se encontraron los cuerpos que ya dije, los 26.
Let's get you some sports news now. First up, cricket. Well, BCCI President Anurag Thakur has said that there are few recommendations of Justice Lodha Committee which the board members feel are not practical to implement. But they have not been able to convey the same to the body, as the body has not given them time for at least last 2 months. Well, Thakur further said the matter is sub judice and that he has full faith in the Indian judicial system. He also claimed that before the recommendations, the BCCI has brought many reforms and is the best run organization in the world today. On 15th of December, the Supreme Court observed Anurag Thakur prima facie appears to have committed matter of perjury in relation to demanding an intervention via a letter from the International Cricket Council to sidestep the implementation of the Lodha Committee recommendations.
We have called meeting time and again to implement the Justice Lodha Committee recommendations. Most of the recommendations have been implemented. If the members did not agree to implement 3-4 recommendations and they wanted us to convey it to the Lodha Committee, we sought time. But Lodha Committee did not give us time in the last 2 months.
Let's get you some more sporting action in Sports Beat. Indian spinners R. Ashwin and Ravindra Jadeja topped the latest ICC bowling rankings, where Jadeja's maiden 10-wicket match haul against England in Chennai propelled him to second position behind teammate R. Ashwin. Well, this is the second time the two top spots in the test ranking for bowlers have been occupied by Indian players. Well, the last were spinners Bishan Singh Bedi and leg spinner Bhagwant Chandrasekhar in 1974. Two-time Wimbledon champion Petra Kvitova has been ruled out for at least 6 months after undergoing surgery to her left hand, which was cut by a knife in a burglary attack. Now, Kvitova suffered an injury on all 5 fingers and 2 nerves in her playing hand after fighting with a burglar at her home in eastern Czech town. Former Union Minister Praful Patel has been re-elected as the President of All India Football Federation for a 4-year term. Well, the annual general meeting was held in the national capital yesterday after the Delhi High Court vacated a stay on the elections on Tuesday. The electoral process was completed in the presence of the appointed returning officer, Justice Bipin Chandra Kanpal, who declared Patel elected along with the executive committee for the term 2017 to 2020. That's all in this edition of news. But news and updates continue on your channel. Thanks for watching.